go mow some hay. We're chucking through this hay. Here's the new seeding. This stuff's actually going to yield quite a bit, but unfortunately a lot of it is crabgrass and foxtail and stuff. But there are spots where that new grass and alfalfa is coming up. I want to check the temperature on this tractor. Temp gauge is saying that it's getting warm, but I figure that this temp gauge isn't working right, so we're going to check it. It's definitely running cool. I think that temp gauge isn't working right. You can see where that temp gauge is at. It's getting pretty close to the H there. So I've always kind of been watching it and making sure that it doesn't get to the hot mark, but that confirms that the temp gauge probably isn't working right. It's running plenty cool. It's running 170 max. I hit the radiator boot there and the water pump. 170 is a max temp, so we're running cool. We're about 3/4 of the way done all the alfalfa, and I'm done the small alfalfa grass new seeding. A lot of foxtail in that, as you saw. There are some spots out here that are thin, and then there are spots more up top where there was more moisture and it was pretty thick. As you can see, that field there's a lot of mare's tail in that field, so we're gonna big bale a good majority of that field just because I don't want that in my horse hay, but there is a lot of good stuff in there for horses that we will small bale as well. We haven't had a lick of sunshine really all day, maybe 10 minutes of sunshine at the most. Really throwing a big wrench in my plans here. I was expecting all this hay to get a good full day of sunshine as soon as I cut it. And we really aren't getting that. There is a good breeze going, which is good, but I need that breeze and the sunshine in tandem because we only have 3 days to make this hay. It's got me a little bit nervous. I just came up into the grass field here and this stuff is getting really dry. I tedded this yesterday, a couple hours after I mowed it. Today is about 80 degrees, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, sunny as all get out. So we're gonna test it, see what it's at. 17.6 is what it's saying. This in here was the thickest stuff. So if this is testing 17%, everything out there is ready to go. Debating if I want to fluff this out again. Tedded out the rest of the grass hay. Everything's looking pretty good here. I'm actually going to start raking some of this. Some of it has weeds, so we're going to ignore that and big bale that tomorrow. But the stuff that, you know, looks better, like this, we're going to bale that today. Everything that I got raked is weed-free stuff, or the stuff that has the least amount of weeds. There are some spots in between that are full of mare's tail and some other big tall weeds, so we're just gonna big bale that tomorrow. It'll still make great cattle feed, but for small bales, I don't really want that stuff in there, so I raked around, raked the good stuff. We're gonna get that baled. Hopefully we can get a wagon and a half, because that would be nice. It's really nice hay, beautiful hay. I had a bale bust apart on me here. I thought it was because I was having knotter issues again, but one of my pieces of twine, the knot broke right there at that eye, and it's not feeding through the knotter. So now I gotta reset the whole freaking knotter. That's gonna be fun. Hate when I have to do that. But while we're stopped, check bale weights, moisture. These bales are heavy. Moisture's saying 15, but they feel heavier than 15. Let me get a cross section. Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah, it's wet. So to retwine your knotter, loop your twine through your 2 twine holes there. Then come down here through this eye. You take your twine down through here and you gotta loop it up in there. You see there's an eye there and there's an eye over there. Those are the eyes for your needles. And then back through this hole on your needle, and then you tie it to this bar right here. And then what we gotta do is we gotta start the tractor up, start the baler up, and we're gonna lift the trip arm over there for the knotter. What that's gonna do is the needles here are gonna take the twine up to the knotter and it'll tie it in the knotter. So this is what it should look like. We've got it coming down through the eye here. They come and loop down underneath. They go through the eyes there. They go through the eye of the needle, and we're tied back here. You can actually see where the twine has run over the years. It's literally worn marks in this thing. So we're gonna fire it up, cycle it, and it should work. Now we're gonna cycle the trip arm, and we should see the twine loop through the knotter. Look at that. Now when we get to the end of this bale, it'll cut it, and then you'll have these loose strings just laying here. You cut them off later. Unfortunately, we're gonna have a mess to deal with because we've got 3 or 4 bales in here that have not tied. They're gonna spit out and make a mess. It's just part of it. Looks like they're all tying, and that is how you recycle your knotter. And now we just got a whole mess back here to clean up all this loose hay. We will just throw that into that windrow. I'm not sure what's going on with this hay. These bales are super wet, and I think it's all due to this stuff. I mean, I can feel it. That's wet. That ain't drying. But the grass is perfectly dry. I can do the twist test on it, and the grass just breaks apart beautifully. But it's I don't know what kind of grass that is, fall grass or whatever it is, but there's a lot of it in there. It doesn't look like there is, but there's apparently enough in there to make the moisture about 20 to 30%. So I don't think we're gonna do any baling today. Let's see here. Nope, this is just too wet. I'm kind of mad at myself because I raked all that hay and it's just borderline too wet. It's consistently 20-25%, which the grass is great, it's dry, but that stupid thick stem grass is not, and it's ruining that hay right now. So I'm tedding out all the windrows that I already raked up. It won't take me very long. Well, that's all I got for today. Kind of bummed we didn't get much baling done. I was really hoping to at least get everything that I had raked baled, because that would have made tomorrow a lot easier. As far as the alfalfa, it's pretty much ready to go, actually. It's really close to being ready here. There's some spots where it's a little bit damp. I would say 80% of it is ready to go. Hopefully we can rake it tomorrow once the dew burns off. And then I'll probably let it sit in the windrow as long as I can. If I have to let it sit all day, I will. I hate doing this, but this was one of those times where I really didn't have a choice. As you can see, we are not having some great weather right now for drying hay. Fortunately, we do have a good breeze. The only way we're gonna get this stuff dry is if we get it up off the ground. So here we are. It's drying, it's getting there. I tested it yesterday, it was at 30%. We've just got some dampness in it yet and a few kind of thick spots that need to dry. We're gonna let it sit out here like this pretty much all day, and then we will rake it and bale it this evening, and hopefully we can make some good hay off of it. Some days just suck to make hay. This is one of them. I mowed it Thursday. It's cloudy all day. It was supposed to be sunny. Yesterday was a great day, but today, again, it's supposed to be sunny and it was cloudy all day. So it was just one of those days that absolutely sucked to make hay, and there's not really anything you can do about it. I try to stay positive the best that I can in these scenarios. One positive is we made some pretty decent grass hay here, but there's not a lot of it, but the stuff that we did make is pretty nice. Pretty much all these bales are under 20%, so they should cure and do all right. We have a pile here that are all wet. It is what it is. Can't really do much about it, but we do have some that is horse quality. Well, we are wrapped up for the night. Today was one of those not great days. You have them in farming and you gotta stay positive. Otherwise, you're gonna drive yourself mad. There is a possible chance of rain yet tonight. The first chance missed us, but at midnight, there's a little bit of a chance of rain. So hopefully this is all right sitting here. We got the baler tucked back in here. My buddy and I got all the big bales put away. There was 12 of them total. There was a couple that were pretty wet, and that was kind of the heavier, thicker, coarse grass. There was a small section of that. And then The rest of the grass was pretty decent. Made good stuff. We put a lot of Raking on it, so it should cure for cattle hay. The small bales were drier than the rest of the field, but you know, it's kind of just one of those weird things. You know, I thought it was going to be a lot drier than it was, and it wasn't. Sometimes that happens, but we got all the hay put away. Most of them up here in the barn. We put 3 really wet ones out the steer barn, left some space between them, and just on the off chance that something burns down, we'd rather it be the steer barn than the main hay shed. Dad did get everything raked up here, and the hope is that, you know, we raked it up. It's got really good leaf quality on it right now, like amazing leaf quality. The hope is that tomorrow the sun comes out like the weatherman is saying, and the breeze, it'll dry it. He's gonna flip the windrows over, and then when I get back from the beach, yes, I'm going to the beach tomorrow. When I get back from the beach, hopefully it's dry enough and we can bale it. And if that doesn't work, then Monday, when there's another chance of rain, we're just gonna say, we don't care what it's like. We just got big bale all of it and hope it's not too wet to where it burns the barn down. It is Monday morning and stuff has changed. Yesterday was Sunday, and it was actually a really good drying day as far as making hay goes. So we opted to bale the alfalfa yesterday. It was really our only best bet. I was actually at the beach, but shout out to my dad. He got everything done, baled up, and by the time I got home, he was done baling. We unloaded 2 wagons. There was about 300 bales. It was decent stuff. It was not as good as it could have been, obviously, because we wanted to bale it Saturday, but we made the best hay that we possibly could with the circumstances we were given. Saturday, I had baled a few rounds that were just a tad bit too wet, but you look at the quality of this stuff, it is impeccable. And that's just because it was a higher moisture. It retained a lot more leaves, and it's just very good hay. So we stacked it here. If it cures, it's gonna be some amazing stuff. Here's the stuff we baled yesterday. Obviously, it's still super green, and it is still pretty decent hay. But we do have, you know, a little bit more leaf loss, leaf shatter, that sort of thing, because we did have to flip the rows over. But still, you look at the bale, there's leaf in there, there's still a lot of stem, there's some grass. I'm happy with how it turned out given the terrible weather that we had to make hay. Unfortunately, we still have 3 acres that we have not baled yet. It was full of foxtail, so we didn't want to small bale it for horses. We wanted to big bale it, but it was too wet when the big baler was here, and we almost small baled it yesterday for steer hay. But right as Dad had finished baling everything here and backing the wagons in the barn, we got the smallest little storm cell that came literally directly over the farm and made everything wet. So I tedded it out this morning. Obviously, they're calling for rain here today and the next 4 days. So this is my last chance to get it up. I'm hoping that we can dry it down to at least like 30%. We'll dump Raking on it so that it doesn't burn the barn down. And then we will tuck it back in the steer barn and feed it as steer hay. Well, here's the plan. We're raking this hay right now. We got rain on the way. It is not a very pretty day to be making hay, so backup plan is to wrap it, and we got a freaking helicopter flying around and I can't hear nothing. Baler and wrapper are on the way. I'm halfway done raking it. We're gonna get this raked up. It's kind of just one of those days we throw everything together at the last minute and hoping it works out, and if it does, gonna feel a lot better. There's the bales, got them all staged, picked up out of the field just in time for the rain. Wrapper should be here at some point. I've got a couple bales on here that I pulled out of the barn. These were off of the big grass field that we had planted, and they are just a tad too wet for me to feel good about keeping them up there in the barn. I felt them this morning and they were feeling pretty warm. So I'm gonna take them out here to the steer barn. I have a couple other wet ones kind of spread out. So I'm gonna take these out there and just stack them with a little bit more space and air in between them. It's an open kind of shed, so air can move through. Kind of more just a peace of mind thing. In case something were to catch on fire, I would rather it catch on fire out here than up in my barn. Marshmallows are done. Now we just gotta let them do their thing. Still debating what we want to do with them, whether we want to feed them and sell a bunch of the hay that we already made for the steers, or if we want to sell these and just continue feeding the dry hay. I know that this stuff is probably gonna feed better to the steers just because it's baleage, so it's gonna be a lot more appealing to them. It's probably gonna feed better in the winter, and they'll probably put on a lot more pounds with that stuff, and it's still considered grass-fed because it's just grass. We will kind of mull over our options and make a decision at some point.